Yeah, there was some question about whether we could be heard or not. But you know, if you can't hear us, you can always look at us, which is weird because
I know, right?
I mean, those of you who don't know, Jenny and I were the hosts of What's Cooking Now, which was the world's only live radio cooking show that we know of, back from 2009 to 2015. Now, Jenny, one thing that I've noticed, we stopped doing our show in 2015. If you haven't noticed, maybe, you know, it seems like a lot of things about the world have just not been good since 2015. Seems like starting in 2016.
I understand that correlation's not causation, but you know, you got to draw your conclusions.
You know, you got to really take this where it is. Okay, they're still saying they can't hear us, so we're just gonna stand here for a minute while. No, they can't hear us now. All right.
They can't. Okay.
Somebody said they couldn't, but now they can. Okay, so you can hear us. So what I was just saying was, hey Jenny, you know, it's like we stopped doing our show in 2015, and it seems like since 2016 or so, a lot of things about the world have, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, sucked, really. And I'm not saying that that's because What's Cooking Now was the glue holding the universe together, but I'm not saying that either.
I'm not saying it's not possible.
I'm not saying that that's not the case. So we're here tonight, and this is, as far as I know, the first time that we've ever done this on video.
It is. It's
I think
frightening,
this is weird.
World.
It's not just that. I mean, we've got like 6 cameras. I mean, Corey has set up this whole, you know, full-on, you know, multi-camera sitcom thing. We've got, so they're going to see every eye roll. They're going to see every rude hand gesture. They're going to see.
We'll have to remember that. We remember so fondly our days in the opulent kitchens of the Apple Shop Studios, but we've come a long way from somebody following us around with a stick mic in the break room.
Yeah, really. I mean, I've got a mic on like pinned to me. It's weird. It's just strange.
They say you should never mic a Williams woman. This could be dangerous.
Yeah, really. I mean, they can all hear you just fine.
Even without the microphone.
After you have another drink, you'll have to move the microphone further away.
I'll just keep moving it down the edge of my apron.
So, Jenny, what are we doing here?
Well, you know, Jonathan, it's spring, and I'm so happy that it's spring. This has been a long, hard winter, and I think all of us are looking forward to the rebirth that spring brings, and stuff's coming on. So Corey has a bunch of cucumbers growing that he pulled out of the Hindman Settlement School Gardens. We've got some beautiful produce from the Happy Hens, who are over in Lee County?
Owsley County.
Owsley County, sorry. The Happy Hens, Jonathan picked up some produce from them tonight at the Perry County Farmers Market pop-up. The Knott County Farmers Market's getting ready to go off with all kinds of great things. So it's really exciting to have access to all this fresh, locally grown produce. You know, I'd much rather put money into the pockets of farmers that I know and love than into the pockets of Walmart.
Absolutely.
So we're kind of doing some spring favorites. You know, we all love the classic spring dishes for sure. I mean, you really can't get much better than a kilt salad or some kilt lettuce, or, you know, just the classic cucumbers, slice them with white onions and dress with a little sugar and vinegar. But tonight we wanted to do some things with produce that may be a little bit different. And I think that's pretty exciting. So I'll go ahead and talk about the first thing that I'm going to make. I love cucumbers, and my daughter loves cucumbers too. And we also both love fairly spicy foods, and we love foods that are influenced by various Asian cuisines. And I just want to say for a minute that I feel like it's always a balancing act to not appropriate cultures, but to pay them respect. And I hope that I'm doing that tonight. So I in no way make any claims towards any kind of authenticity with what I'm cooking at all, but these are some flavors that I really love, and I just want to talk about some of the ingredients. So basically this is just a cucumber salad that's going to be a little spicy, and I'm going to use some fish sauce. If you haven't used fish sauce before, if this is not in your cupboard, get some. It adds really beautiful umami to a lot of different dishes, and I really love it. And then also toasted sesame oil. And again, I'm sure that a lot of the people who are listening to this have all this stuff in their cupboards, but we like to make sure that we kind of explain things in case there are people who are just starting to explore these things. So toasted sesame oil is a little bit different than just regular sesame oil. It has a much fuller aroma and gives a lot of good umami. And then I have some chili crisps, so it's fried chili in oil. I really meant to make this week before I came over here, and I didn't have time. And then I also have some furikake, which is something that can be whatever you want it to be, basically. Usually it has bonito flakes, which is a dried fish, some kind of seaweed, and sesame seeds. And that's pretty much all I put in mine. And mine's heavy on the on the seaweed, heavy on the nori, because that's how I like it. And I'm going to garnish the dish with that. So this is so super simple. I'm just going to show you really quickly. I'm just going to splash a little bit of fish sauce.
And with fish sauce, and I think sesame oil is the same way. A little bit goes a long way.
Sesame oil, I think even more. Like
even more really so sesame oil. Yeah, I mean you can.
So I'm just.
Yeah, just kiss it with the sesame oil, and that's.
Can you guys see this? I'm just really going to just. Really just a few drops.
Yeah.
So,
and that'll do it.
And that's going to be enough.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to put just a little splash of vinegar in there. And a pretty good spoonful of the chili oil. And sometimes I just use the oil and don't use the actual chili, but I want a little bit of the chili as well. So I'm putting a spoonful about like this in there.
They call this grandma sauce because grandma is there on the label.
Do I look a little bit like her?
Maybe.
A little bit like her. And this is pretty much it. I feel so frequently that when I cook things like this, I'm not really cooking. I'm just mixing really good ingredients. These cucumbers, you know, just knowing that, well, first of all, knowing that Corey grew them, and we love Corey, that's special, and just knowing that they were grown so close is really nice. I'm putting a lot of scallions in this because that's how I like it. You might want to use less, you might want to use more. And this dish really usually is topped with peanuts, but just for some fun, I am going to top it. Just going to give that a little mix, and we're going to let this sit for a little bit to sort of absorb some of those flavors. And I'm going to top it with sriracha flavored peas instead of peanuts, just for a little added crunch. And I'm going to smash these a little bit.
And if you've never had these, they're really spicy and really they're just delicious. They can be a little bit tough. They can, but they are delicious.
They're so good.
And I should say, this whole dish is not too, you know, we like to draw lines, and if you've grown up in an Appalachian kitchen at all and eaten, you know, your grandma has probably, you know, cut up a cucumber and put some salt on it and let it sit for a while, and then maybe done the same with an onion. And you know, this is basically that, except it's just dressed up a little bit and you know, dragged through Southeast Asia a little.
You know, and I, like I said, I feel like it's always kind of a balancing act to pay respect to different flavor profiles from different cultures and to honor our own. But you know, that's kind of what we're all about. I mean, Appalachian culture is not a static thing. It doesn't just sit there and stay the same forever. It's you know, it's never been a static thing. It's always been a place where lots of different people and cultures have influenced the way that we eat and what we do. And so we really love to take sort of traditional, locally grown ingredients and sort of play with them. So that's it for this. I'm also going to make a rhubarb salsa, but I'm going to be working on that, and I'll talk about that while Jonathan works with his dish a little bit.
Well, so I'm doing something fairly, it's also kind of a dish that's taken from another culture and borrowed a little bit and then changed up a little bit. Well, I'm going to be making what they call a green shakshuka. Now, shakshuka is a dish that originally comes from Tunisia, is I think where it actually originates. But you can find it pretty much all over the Middle East. You can find versions of it just about anywhere you go in the Middle East. And I think what really brought me to this was we had dinner in New Orleans about a year and a half ago at a place called Shia. A great chef named Alan Shia who has a restaurant down there and there we had brunch and I had a green shakshuka. Now shakshuka is usually a tomato sauce. It's usually a really spiced up tomato sauce and then with eggs on top, with eggs that are put on top and kind of broiled or just steamed to cook. But I had a version that was green, and it was just mind-blowing. It was just so incredibly good.
You know, and eggs are another thing that we seem to have a lot of this spring.
Exactly.
The Happy Hens have eggs. Old Home Place Farm has eggs. Do you guys have eggs?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Well, but there are plenty of eggs about.
There are, and it's such a, you know, I love serving eggs for things that aren't breakfast.
Exactly.
You know,
I mean, and this is a dish that is, you know, it's definitely a a brunch dish. I mean, shakshuka I think of as a brunch dish, but you could. This is a great dinner. This is a fantastic dinner.
And it's
So I'm over here at the stove, and I'm going to just drop a little bit of olive oil into a pan. You want to find a pan that is that has some fairly tall sides, and then has a lid that you can put on. That's going to make a difference having the lid to put on. And I'm going to start with regular old onion. This is a Vidalia onion. You probably got band onions or something out there right about now. Was it the band selling these onions? The Shriners. Somebody's probably selling Vidalias. That's Tamara over there, who's helping us out, my incredible wife. And just going to get those going a little bit in some olive oil. And while that's going, I'm going to cut up my chard. So I've got some, I had some really pretty Swiss chard over here. And you can see what these leaves look like. This is the red chard, so it's kind of got the red veins, and it's just a gorgeous plant. And what I've done is I've taken the stems off, and I'll show you in a minute what I've done with the stems, but you don't throw them away. And, you know, I'm not really neat about this. I just kind of take all these leaves in a pile and just sort of roll them up a little bit like that. Roll them up, and then you want to make thin slices through
the... You're sort of chiffonading it.
Yeah, this is sort of a weak chiffonade. I'm going to move some stuff out the way, so there we go. It's sort of a weak chiffonade. Then I'm going to come through here and slicing this into ribbons, thin little ribbons. And again, you don't have to stack the leaves all, you know, you don't have to be too precious about this. Just kind of go down the line and cut that into ribbons.
That cutting technique is really great. So I love, as we know, salads of all sorts. And I love in the spring being able to use this really fresh, young, beautiful kale and collards. And I know a lot of times people massage their kale, right? Like they rub it with some salt and some olive oil to get it soft. But doing a really fine chiffonade, stacking those leaves, and like you said, it doesn't have to be stacked perfect. Sort of stacking them and then rolling it a little bit and then slicing thinly across it is another really good way to use those greens in a salad.
Now I've already cut up quite a bit of chard. You can see that there in the bowl, a fair bit of this chard. And now what have I done with the stems? Well, chard stems are a great thing to pickle. You know, this is also the time of year when I start pickling everything. And what I did is I took those beautiful red chard leaves and I've made a delicious pickling liquid. I've added some green onions, put in some delicious pickling liquid, and really I did that from just stuff I happened to find around here. Just some vinegar, a little sorghum. I added some salt to that and some dill, and just sort of heated all that up and then then poured it on all this along with a little bit of garlic.
So this is a quick pickle,
So this is a quick pickle. This is and then I added some ice to that at the end. So Jenny, have a little taste of that. This one's very salty. But this is going to be a great condiment for what we're making later.
So good.
So I'm just going to put that aside. And you just see how pretty that is. I mean, just having that on the table is just it just screams spring. So my onions are going over here.
It's a clean spoon.
And I'm going to add my garlic. Now whenever you add garlic, what's that?
I dropped the heat.
Great. Whenever, it was a little high. Do you have there it is. So whenever you add garlic, make sure you got something to stir with, and make sure you've got a liquid sitting by, because you don't really want to burn garlic when you can avoid it.
It gets really bitter.
It gets bitter. It gets a little bit, and it smells bad. So I'm gonna add my garlic. I'm gonna stir it around a little bit. By the time you smell garlic,
It's too late.
then by the time you smell garlic, the minute you smell garlic is about right. If you smell a lot of garlic, then it is too late. But if you can just get it in there, stir it around for a minute or so. And my heat's down, so it's not going to be too terrible. But I'm going to go ahead and add some vinegar to this, because you need to add a little bit of liquid. And you might as well make that
So you're just using what kind of vinegar?
I'm using a little white wine vinegar. This is one of my favorite vinegars. It's fairly, it works with about everything. It's just, it's one of those things I keep in the kitchen all the time. Fairly neutral, but not overpowering. It just gives you a little bit of acid, which we'll definitely want in this. And I'm going to let that go for a second, and then start adding my greens. I'll probably want to turn that back up just a touch. not used to these, such a...
So you've got, I know, so you've got just onions and garlic.
That's just onions and garlic, which is...
And you've just put a little vinegar over that.
I just put a little vinegar over it.
Now you're going to...
Now I'm going to throw in my greens. I'm going to let that get hot. Let that garlic, let that vinegar start to bubble just a touch. Now see that bubbling, and then I'm going to start adding my greens. And I'm going to do this a handful at a time. And then get some tongs.
So you're right there on.
Yep. And kind of rub that around. And remember that this may seem like a small pan for all this, but chard cooks down like crazy.
Chard really does.
Yeah. Of all the greens.
It's got so much water in it.
Yeah, it's got a lot of water, especially when it's all tender like this. It's just gonna melt right down.
We're really lucky to have so many opportunities to get locally grown food. There's a farmer's market, I think, in our region, in the 606. I think that this is true. Every day except for Monday. So on Tuesdays, you guys are doing right? Knott County is going to have their Tuesday market. And you also have
They'll start in July on Fridays.
We'll start in July on Fridays. The Perry County Farmers Market is moving dates this year, and we're going to be doing our markets on Thursday evenings and Saturday morning. Breathitt County has their markets on Wednesday and Saturday mornings. Letcher County, I mean, we've just got all these great opportunities, and we really love being able to visit all of them. So check them out. Most of the markets have Facebook pages. You can see what their hours are. The vendors tend to mark down what they're bringing and post pictures of it. So there's so much good food. And
it's come so far in just a few years.
It really has.
Because, I mean, it was not that long ago that we were all just begging for greens. We would just say, would somebody please,
Please grow some greens. Grow something greens besides,
and bring them, because, I mean, it was just beans and corn, and, once it got to that, and then pumpkins eventually, but,
Yeah, the market really has come a long way.
Eventually. And don't get me wrong, I love me some beans and corn and tomatoes, but I am so happy that we can go and get so many things now. So you can see I'm just sort of adding this. I'm adding this chard about one handful at a time, and it's shrinking down. And you just sort of toss it in with the rest of it, and that little bit of oil and a little bit of vinegar has kind of gotten in there with everything. You want to cook this fairly low. You don't want to scorch anything, but this will cook down quite a bit.
So Jonathan, what else have you been doing with greens this spring besides dishes like green? How do you say it again?
Shakshuka.
Shakshuka. What else have you been making with your greens?
What else have we been making with greens that I like to do? I mean, I'm all about pickling anything. And really, I think with pickling, you're probably better off waiting for those later fall greens. The tougher ones, those are the good ones to pickle. But, it's never wrong to pickle anything.
No. If pickling is wrong, I don't want to be right.
I don't want to be right. But, I like greens. Greens are just a great side dish to anything, and they last for a while. So you can, make a big pot of greens, and then you can have them a couple of nights with, different, whatever proteins you're making. You can throw them in soup. You can throw them in eggs.
And really just buying greens from local farmers makes you realize how long the greens that are in the grocery store have been there. Because the greens in the grocery store go bad pretty quickly. But these beautiful greens, most of our farmers triple wash their greens. It's amazing how long that they'll last when properly stored. I've had a lot of eggs, like I said. I've really been loving the duck eggs from the Happy Hens, and I've been getting chicken eggs from them as well. And then Old Home Place Farm has some eggs I've been getting. And so I've been eating a lot of eggs. And something that I've discovered that I didn't know how to do before is the Chinese technique of steaming eggs. And I've really been loving that because it's pretty simple. It's pretty much just eggs and broth or water. The ratio most recipes call for is 3-to-1, but I find I like it a little bit better with a 2-to-1 ratio. And you just put it in a dish and you steam it, right, for like 10 minutes. And then you cut crosshatches on it and you drizzle it with sesame oil, a little soy sauce. And then typically I've been making that, and then I've been heaping chopped raw greens on it at the end and letting them sort of steam down. But I'm really looking forward. Like I said, it's difficult to know for me. I always try to be really sensitive, or I try to really think about the difference between appropriating cultures and appropriating techniques and respectfully using them in other ways. And I'm really excited about playing with that Chinese steamed egg technique and using other flavors. Like I'm thinking how much fun it's going to be when tomatoes start coming in. And I know Corey's got some green ones already that he started in the greenhouse that are going to be coming on before we know it. And I'm looking forward to chopping the tomatoes and then draining them so you get that clear tomato water, which looks clear but which is incredibly flavorful and so much fun to use in dishes and in cocktails because it doesn't look like tomato juice, but it's got this really strong tomato flavor. So I'm really looking forward to playing around with that tomato water and Chinese steamed eggs. So I guess they won't be Chinese steamed eggs anymore at that point. They'll just be steamed eggs. But it's just a technique that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
You know?
It's always fun to learn something like that and then do it to death. I do that.
Well, same. I do too. And you know, I feel like the older I get,
need some water.
I never really have felt the need to master incredibly. You know, if I see a recipe that has an incredibly difficult technique, my first thought is usually, ooh, I should get Jonathan to make this. And I feel like the older I get, the more happy I am to let someone else do that. And the more I think I've always had this tendency, I've always said that I don't really cook, I just take food and put it together in some way, you know? Sometimes I apply heat, sometimes I don't, but I do love finding those new techniques, and sometimes it feels like it's really easy to get into a rut. Did you get into a COVID rut with your cooking?
Oh my. I was so tired of my own
right?
cooking, and especially when you don't have that many options for eating out.
Yeah.
And I was just so incredibly tired of my own cooking that I just couldn't deal with it.
And I was tired. It's more fun to cook for people, you know. I was tired of my own eating, you know. Like I wanted to cook for someone and have someone cook for me and get together. So I'm really glad that we've been able to get so many people vaccinated. And that we've been able to start doing stuff again because it's really just beautiful.
Good. So I've added a few things over here. I've added some cumin. This is just ground cumin. I've added just a touch of that because that definitely gives it a little bit of that shakshuka flavor. There's usually spiked. The sauce you get is spiked there a little bit. I'm also going to add a little bit of heat, and that's in the form of this. I ordered a lot of pantry stuff during the pandemic, and so many different seasonings and sauces and that sort of thing. But I got a whole pack of pepper flakes from the Flatiron Pepper Company, and the one that I like the best out of the ones I got is this Hatch Valley Green.
Oh wow!
So this is just like the red pepper flake like you'd find at on the table at the. But this is Hatch and sandia peppers and jalapenos and some green habaneros.
How spicy is it?
It's on the spicy side.
It's one of the milder ones that was in that pack.
Yeah, it is one of the milder ones, but it just got this very.
Where'd you order this from?
The Flatiron Pepper Company. It's just got this very green flavor.
Yeah, it's really.
Yeah.
You know, it's so easy, I think, to have heat without flavor, and when you can find something that gives you.
Oh,
heat
these
and
definitely
flavor.
do. Definitely.
I'll have to order some of these
that.
since Lily Reese Williams Lucero goes through like a thing of red pepper flakes a week. It seems like. She puts handfuls of them on everything.
Well, you can get a starter pack, and this included some that I haven't even had the gumption to break into yet. That are like, the super death hot pepper.
So this is really beautiful. So you've just wilted down this charge. You've thrown in your scallions, which still look beautiful and bright.
Thrown in a little water to go with that.
Water, so you've got a little bit of liquid going on.
And I'm gonna toss a lid on that for a minute and let it go, and then we'll come back and finish it here in a little bit.
Okay.
But that's all I've done. I've worked for 10 minutes here total. That I've got this beautiful pan of greens that I'm gonna turn into a main dish here in a minute. So Jenny, what are you doing? You've got a beautiful little pile of produce.
I love rhurbarb.
Holy crap, that's a pretty pile.
I love it is pretty,
aromatics.
isn't it? I love rhubarb pie, like everyone does, but I really am interested more. I just tend to like savory things more. I'm not a huge sweet eater. I mean, I'll go to town on a chocolate bar or something, but I tend to prefer things that are savory, and so I love to use rhubarb in savory preparations. So can you see this? So I've just taken my rhubarb, which more people, please grow more rhubarb and sell it at the market. I actually got this from Dr. Sandy Cadu, the chief academic officer at Hazard Community and Technical College, although she's leaving and going to Minnesota. And I've just cut this into a very small dice. So you can see it's pretty small here. And then I've got a little bit of green onion, especially the top. And then I've got this beautiful cilantro that Corey sweetly got for me. And I'm going to put just a little bit of mint, not much mint. And I'm sorry that I'm putting cilantro in because I know that Tamara has a birth defect. that keeps. So this is true, right?
This is true.
Some people have a genetic.
It's a genetic predisposition to make cilantro taste like soap.
Jonathan says predisposition. I call it a genetic defect. But I'm going to just also add.
Mutant. She's
a mutant. But some people do, and so it tastes really horrible to them. And so, Tamara, I apologize for putting this in. And I'm just going to put just a couple of mint leaves, not much at all, because I don't want that to overpower it. And I'm just going to sort of chop that up. I've already cut my cucumbers. One thing I wanted to say about cucumbers is that, do you seed your cucumbers, Jonathan?
Sometimes.
It kind of depends on what you're making, right?
Yeah.
The seeds can make it really watery. And so I've seeded the cucumbers both for this cucumbers in chili sauce and for this little salsa. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to take all this and I'm going to put it here with the cucumbers that I've already seeded and cut into a pretty fine dice. And we're just going to make this little salsa. It's going to be very simply dressed. I'm going to use a little bit of lime on it. And I'm going to take, where is my lime? Oh, here it is. I'm going to take my, my peeler and I'm just going to peel a strip of the zest. And I could have zested this with a zester had I remembered to bring one. But I'm just going to chop it. I like the flavor of the zest of a lime. I like that sort of bitterness, especially against the sour rhubarb. And so I'm just going to kind of cut this long ways this way.
Now, Jenny, isn't rhubarb poisonous?
No, maybe. Who cares? I also eat poke salad.
Fact is, you can eat the stems just fine. The stems and the actual trunks of the rhubarb, no problem at all. The only thing you have to watch out for in rhubarb is the leaves. The leaves are full of oxalic acid.
Which is the same thing that makes poke salad, right?
It is, I believe, yes.
Dangerous.
I believe so. And what it does, oxalic acid binds calcium and forms stones, and forms kidney stones, calcium oxalate stones, that are your most common form of kidney stones. So this happened in a big way after World War I in England. They were trying, there was food shortages, so they were trying to find food sources, and they came out and said, "Hey, everybody, rhubarb leaves, they're fantastic." And yeah, that didn't go so well because everybody suddenly had kidney stones. So that's where, but I think that's where the story. A lot of people say that rhubarb can be poisonous, and it's really not.
So I'm just squeezing the juice of a lime in here. This is so simple. Like I said, I feel like this is not even cooking. It's really just mixing. I am going to put just the smallest drizzle of honey. And this is from Meadow Branch Farm, so it's some good local honey. Really just a tiny drizzle. And then, do you have salt, Jonathan?
Yeah, we got some over here.
And we're going to serve this on this beautiful...
That is a gorgeous serving plate.
It is. We're going to serve this. We're going to let it sit for a little bit to let the flavors marry. And then we're going to serve it with some beautiful Heinemann Settlement School chicken. So if you have not gotten chicken from the Heinemann Settlement School, jump on quick. They've got a few whole ones left and some legs. You can get online and you can order. They've got all kinds of great stuff, in fact. They have these Toad Hollow pickles, Tadpole Hollow pickles that you can buy. I am in love with, I don't usually like seasoning blends. I don't know, I'm probably too full of myself. I always think I could do it better myself or something. But this signature blend is absolutely amazing. I use it on everything. I've gone through so many bottles of it.
Nice.
And it's just really beautiful. And you can order that from them. And then, of course, they also have this beautiful apple butter and apple jelly. So they've got some really great little gift boxes that you can get. I got a few like at Christmas for people. Like there was a breakfast box that had, it's all got kind of local stuff in it. Really amazing. So be sure and check that out the next time that you need a gift for someone.
I'll tell you what, I'm so used to doing this on the radio that I kept thinking, wow, it's 7:30, we got to do the station ID. But which we don't. But I will say you're watching the Agrilachia series here at Heinemann Settlement School. Thanks so much for having us. Thanks to Corey. Thanks to Jordan. Thanks to Josh. Thanks to everybody who's out here. Thanks to Tamara, who's off, washing my dish, making sure it stays okay. Speaking of my dish, let's go and
let's check that out.
See how that's going. So I've just put the lid on and let that go a little bit, and that is looking pretty. So I'm going to take my spoon, and here's the next step here. I'm going to sort of smooth out the top of all this. I want it kind of flat. So I've got just a flat layer of greens. And then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to make some wells. And I think I'm going to do about 4 in this pan. I'm just going to mash my spoon down and make some little divots in the greens. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 sort of green divots. And I'll crack those in a bowl. There's one around somewhere. So no, not yet. So I'm making those divots because I'm going to add some eggs. Now this does not require fancy eggs at all. You could have just regular old chicken eggs, but from our friends at the Happy Hens Homestead, happen to have some duck eggs.
Listen, those eggs, I don't know in a blind taste test if I would know that those were duck eggs, but they're so rich and so beautiful. And when you get eggs from people, local eggs from people, it really spoils you. Again, for supermarket eggs, you realize how long those eggs in the supermarket have been there, and you realize
and how few bugs those chickens get to eat.
Yeah, just the yolks or so. I mean, look at that. Can you see that egg?
Yeah, let's show that beautiful egg footage. There, look at that giant yolk. So
that's gorgeous.
What I'm going to do is I'll crack this in a bowl because I'm bad at cracking eggs. There are those people who can just crack it on the side and do one hand and do that whole, and I am not that level of badass, unfortunately.
Well, it's so easy to get shell into it. Why not? Better safe than sorry, right?
Yeah, so I'm just going to crack these into, and each one of those 4 divots that I made, I'm going to put an egg. And there we go. And again, these are just gorgeous eggs. And I'll say that we had some of these eggs, and Tamara, who's here with us, made some pasta the other day with some of these duck eggs, and it was stunning. It was so fantastic. So I'm just going to put these all in here.
So that is beautiful. Look at that.
And I'm going to turn my heat up just a touch, and I'm going to add some more water. Add just a touch of water to this.
Because why? You want it not to
because I want these to steam a little. So adding a little fresh water, generate a little more steam. And then I'm going to cover this up for a few minutes.
That is beautiful.
Just going to cover that up, and that's it. We'll let those go and let the whites set.
However, to whatever, if people like their eggs a little runnier, you could cook them a little bit runnier, right?
Yeah, you can make them a little runnier. You do this and let the eggs set, and then what you could do if you wanted, especially if you've got an oven-safe skillet, is you could slide this whole thing under the broiler and get, if you want those, especially if you want those yolks a little bit more set. Mm-hmm. But that's going to set nicely over a few minutes.
That is gorgeous. I tell you, I don't know if this is a flavor pairing that's meant to be, but I feel like I want to eat a plate of those with a spoonful of this pickle on it.
I can see that.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm going with it.
Sounds really good.
We're going to have some of that pickle, and so that is looking gorgeous. Jenny, what time is it?
It is time for a cocktail.
Is it time for a cocktail?
I think it is.
So
Jonathan and I both really love gin, and we love different kinds of gin. And gin has such a wide range of flavors. Some of it's very botanical, some of it's very floral, some of it's more kind of, I don't want to use the word medicinal, herbaceous maybe is a better term. But it pairs really well with a lot of spring flavors. And we have tonight, we've got, you're going to use the rhubarb, right?
Got a couple, we're going to use some rhubarb syrup.
I brought 2. I made some redbud syrup earlier, but Jonathan and I were saying we expected it to turn more pink, and it really didn't. I don't know why. But it's pretty flavorful with just the little redbud in it. And then I also made some rhubarb syrup, which is beautiful, a beautiful pink color. I've still got the rhubarb steeping in it because I want it to have a little stronger flavor.
See that lime over there, the rest of your lime, if you don't mind. So what we're going to do here is, first of all, as she said, we brought some gins. And this one is Castle and Key. And this is from over in, is that in Woodford County?
It's a beautiful, beautiful distillery.
Yeah, I think it's still in the line.
Yeah, it's an old.
It's been one of my favorite gins I've ever tried because I tend not to like the super, and they've got different kinds.
Yeah, they have some different ones, but this is their sort of base London Dry.
Right, and I like it because I don't love the really floral ones. I prefer the sort of herbaceous ones.
Yeah, this one is probably one you would like less. This is Scottish, and this is definitely more floral.
It still smells really good though.
And this one is it's from Iowa.
It doesn't smell too floral. There's some of them that you just feel like
I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's not like.
bouquet in your
Of course, you know what I really don't get is there are commercials out there for vodka distilled with botanicals. Like, that's gin. I'm
Right.
sorry, that's gin.
Kind of like a martini made with vodka. It's not a martini.
Yeah, it is a kangaroo.
It's just it's a vodka.
It's a
drink.
travesty,
Pretty-
but it's technically called a kangaroo. So let's try to do a few things. Let's maybe start with some botanist. And I'll just tell you, I'm making this up.
Jonathan makes the best cocktails though, even when he's not just making them up.
So
He's just has a perfect hand
let's,
at blending.
well, we're making a couple of these, so let's do that right. I'm going to add some of this. I'm going to add a dollop of this rhubarb syrup, and you see that beautiful pink color. I really like that. How are our eggs doing over there?
I think they are a little past done, actually.
Just turn it way down, and we'll just take it off.
Yeah.
We'll be fine. I'm going to add a splash of that. I'm also going to add a little bit of this. This is an Amaro. It's called Rabarbaro. Rabarbaro. I can never say that. It's like the rural juror if you've ever seen 30 Rock. But this is a rhubarb-based Amaro. It's sort of a bitter.
I just have discovered Amaros. Big shout out and thanks to Kristen Smith.
Yep,
and
she is an Amaro queen.
Melissa Bond for
And just a
introducing
queen in
me to
general.
Amaros, and big shout out to Mark Arnold for getting me a bunch of
Yep.
them. But this one's a rhubarb Amaro.
Yeah, it's rhubarb-based.
They're really nice aperitifs. Or really nice sort of after dinner drinks. They're really good. So that's going to be
Are there
awesome.
any straws around here? So I'm going to go here using my scoop and put in more ice than you think should be necessary.
And Jonathan will now demonstrate the proper.
So I've never got to do this on camera, but
I know, it's so exciting.
but always over the shoulder. All right.
And you give it a little pop.
Well, maybe. Oh, there we go.
They don't have any.
That's all right. Well, let's taste this first before I go. There are no straws, so I'll use a spoon. It's nice. Definitely the gin.
I like
Get
that.
some rhubarb.
I think it's pretty perfect.
Yep, I'm with it.
I'm liking it.
So I'm going to Boston shaker this out.
You need to get us some little twists?
Yeah.
I'll try. I got a little too much white on it.
That's all right.
That one broke. Hold on, let me try this one more time. Okay.
All right. Should swim with bow-legged women. That's nice.
This might be my new favorite summer drink.
Definitely get some of that rhubarb. It's you get the pepper of the gin, but it's not like
The
all the
Amaro
juniper.
really sort of rounds
Punches
it
it.
out, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
punches
and
it
that
up.
little bit of lime.
Yeah, I'm for it.
Oh yeah,
I'm in favor. All right,
I'm
it
in
looks like
favor.
we got eggs over here. So we'll take this off, and would you look at that? That is pretty, and those yolks are probably a little more done than I ordinarily would, but
So do you serve this with like a crusty bread?
I would
or-
serve this on a crusty bread or with pitas is traditional. The way I'm going to serve it tonight is dress it up with a few things first. Because you got that field of white, those seas of white. So I'm going to go ahead and
really,
add.
really beautiful.
So I'm going to add some. I've got some dried dill here from the good folks at Yoder's, it looks like. Just happened to find over there. And I'm going to add a few more
That smells amazing.
thin scallions. I'm going to add some. I have some feta cheese, which I've bought in the proper size.
Giant size.
The giant. Costco size feta cheese.
Oh,
Top
that looks
it
amazing.
rather heavily with that.
That looks so good.
And then just to pretty it up, and because it's also delicious, I'm going to add some pepper. This is Isot pepper or Urfa Biber. This is a lot like we've talked a lot on this and other shows about Aleppo pepper. This is very similar.
It's more black though, right?
Yeah, a little bit. But I'm gonna.
But it's not horribly spicy, correct?
No.
And it's just got a really rich flavor.
Mm-hmm.
I think having things like this, different kinds of peppers, different kinds of dried peppers, can really elevate dishes, and it's fun to just taste those different flavor profiles. That looks gorgeous.
You can. So I've topped that off. I'm going to snap a picture because, you know, the gram, and then
That's gorgeous.
and then we will give her a try.
We're ready to dish up, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to pull this chicken out of the oven, and like I said, this is chicken that was raised right here at Hyman Settlement School. And if you've been buying your chicken from the grocery store, do yourself a favor, run, don't walk, and snatch up chicken anytime that they have it. And they have pretty limited supplies right now, but hopefully we'll be processing more at some time in the future. And it's just amazing how good it is. My daughter decided that she wanted to be, my daughter is 14, almost 15, and it was a little bit before COVID, I guess, when you guys first started doing chickens, she decided she wanted to be a vegetarian, and she was hanging tough too. I mean, she was turning down bacon, like, right? She was hardcore.
Your child.
I took my child, it's hard to believe, and I had a chicken from Hyman Settlement School that I roasted, and she walked through the kitchen and turned back around and she said, I'm going to eat this. I mean, it's just so flavorful. It's so incredibly delicious. So I've got some legs that I've done. Just super, super simple. And I don't like white meat. I don't really care for breasts, although even the Hyman Settlement School breasts are even good. But I love thighs and I love legs. They're probably my favorite cut. I just think that they're more flavorful. And I just toss this really simply with a little bit of olive oil and some of that delicious signature blend, just super, super plain. And so it's meant to be, what do you need?
Oh, I'm just smelling.
It's meant to be served with a scoop of this salsa, but I can tell you that I'm so all about Jonathan's pickles that I'm gonna have it with both, I think. It's my plan.
Yeah, so I've dished up some of this, and I'm gonna put a little bit of this pickle on the side.
That looks gorgeous.
Over here.
Look at that.
So this is a gorgeous dinner, and I'm telling you, this took a total
Very
of
little
about
time.
20 minutes of effort.
And I can see that this would be really pretty if you had like a pretty sort of little low pan that you could serve.
Yeah,
Can I eat this?
just serve. Yeah, go for it. Here you go.
Look at this. Oh my gosh. Oh my God, that's so good. Mmm. Oh, the chard has just gotten really silky and it's picked up all those flavors. And against the egg.
The egg and the cheese and just
Oh, this is amazing. I'm gonna try it with a bite of the pickle. Oh yeah. Mmm.
those eggs did get a little bit over, but that's all right.
Okay.
It's we'll all live.
Eggs are very forgiving. They're good. This is so delicious. Look at that. Can you see this plate? I don't know
That
which
came out
camera's
just right.
on there. So many.
Yep.
This is really good.
That came out great.
Okay, hand me another plate and I'll serve up. And I don't know that I would serve these things together, but I'm going to tonight. A bright piece of rhubarb there. I don't know that I would serve these two things together, but
Why not?
for tonight, I don't know.
If you had one in the fridge, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks pretty stunning. So I always start with the sauces on their own.
Yeah. Me too. And you know, I love having just different kinds of little salsas and sauces and pickles because when my kids were small, both of my kids are pretty adventurous eaters now. My son is 23 and he right now is working at a summer camp, but when he's not doing that, he's a cook at Old Vine Bistro in Lexington, and he's a really adventurous eater and an adventurous cook. And my daughter is a very adventurous eater, but when they were small, they really liked kind of plain things. And so I would tend to serve a protein, a veg, a grain, and then to punch it up for us, we would do different little salsas or different little sauces. I love to make a good pan sauce, but I think having little sauces like this will keep in the fridge for a few days. Cucumber doesn't keep for a super long time, but it's easy to chop things like that up. This pickle you could keep in the refrigerator for a couple of weeks.
You could.
If you didn't eat the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know that it would last that long. But this is all delicious. That salsa is just so incredibly fresh, and
well, I just like the little bite of the rhubarb.
Yeah, the rhubarb gives it just that little bit of just that little bite, just that little bit of bitterness. Rhubarb has a lot of the same compound that, say, quinine, quinine-like compounds that are just like tonic water, or so you get that little bit of bitterness. That works so well. And I'm loving the cucumber salad. That's just incredible. I
probably would have put more rhubarb in the salsa if I would have more.
Well, you know, we do what we can. And I wanted to, you know, while I'm loving your chicken, digging into this, I've just been thinking a lot more lately about eating, about eating things that aren't meat, I guess. And I mean, I'm an omnivore. I eat, you know, I'm comfortable with my place on the food chain, but you know, there's been kind of a push lately among pretty much everybody to try eating less meat. And you know, one of the biggest pieces of food news in the last few weeks was 11 Madison Park, which is one of the best restaurants in the world. It's in New York City. It's got 3 Michelin stars, which is, you know, the top you can get. And it's and they decided this week that they're going entirely vegan. That they're going with a completely vegan menu. And this is a menu a tasting menu that costs $350. And they've been famous for things like lavender chicken and that sort of thing, but they are going entirely vegan. And this place has been on my bucket list for a long time, and that doesn't change it at all, because I'm actually probably more excited.
You know, it's really easy to cook a beautiful chicken or to cook a beautiful piece of steak, but it's not always as easy to do something really elevated with vegetables and to impress. Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do.
Trying some of that with this.
So good.
But I had a dinner in Philadelphia at a place called Zahav that was, and I had the tasting menu there, and that was probably 19, you know, small dishes. It was really something. But all but 2 of them were vegetarian, probably vegan, or mostly vegan. And the 2 that were not were my least favorite of the 19, just because I was just so blown away. And a lot of things, you know, because I got the cookbook and I was just kind of blown away by how simply these things were done.
Little green dress?
No, that's a different one. But this one had, you know, there was an eggplant dish that I remembered, and I'm like, that's just stunning. And when I got it, it was just sort of a very simple, when I got the cookbook, just sort of a simple eggplant stew. And, you know, it's just about getting the right ingredients and doing them right, and you know, paying attention to every little detail and everything being just right. And it's, you know, that's what it takes when you're trying to make, you know, vegetables. When you're trying to make this really fancy vegetable dish, you've got to pay attention to everything and make sure you get all those proper steps in.
What are you most looking forward to this summer eating?
I don't know.
I mean, tomatoes.
Tomatoes. I mean, tomatoes are just hard not to get excited about. I mean, you know, having great eggplants, because it's just really one of my favorite things when it's done right, and I'm finally learning to do it right, I think.
And I love the hens had those really beautiful little white, the little tiny white ones, and then the long, slender purple ones.
And I mean, and I'm looking forward to pickling everything, you know, because that's just my, you know, it's what I do on most Saturdays in the summertime. It seems like is I'll go and get
brining stuff is fun too.
Yeah, brining stuff and pickling and just making, you know, just seeing what I can do, you know, seeing what I can do with stuff. And most of the time, you're not trying to do something to it so much as get out of its way and let those flavors come through.
So true.
But there's so many ways to do that it's a lot of fun.
And I'm really just excited about doing the tour of farmers markets this summer and seeing who has what and who's growing what, and it's so much fun. Like you said, people are starting to grow new things. I'm really looking forward to it a lot. So
anybody have any questions out there? We'd love to take your questions.
I'm gonna eat some more pickles. Wait, I want my egg plate back. That was really good.
Which one was yours? That's good enough.
I think so.
Whichever one is.
Yeah, anybody got any questions?
Somebody said we sealed the deal with the feta.
There have been many deals sealed with feta.
No doubt, I'm sure, over time.
This is so good.
My mom's watching. How you doing? It's like she's very hungry. That's good.
Thanks for giving birth to Jonathan. We really appreciate it.
Dee's out there. Good to see you.
Hi, Dee. Happy birthday, Paula. This is really amazing.
How do we store fresh food? What I tend to do is leave it all out on my counter.
That's a good question, Emily.
I tend to leave it all on my counter, and then it goes bad in a hurry. No, I mean, if you want greens are the hardest one, and I think that the best way I found to do it is to wrap them up in a little bit of, in some wet paper towels, just some slightly damp paper towels, and then put them in the fridge, and they'll usually, if you get good fresh greens, they'll last forever that way.
You know, and I think that part of what I love about the summer and the farmer's market is that I don't store fresh food. I go and get more.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm at the farmer's market, and I have a hard time not overbuying.
Yeah, that's my problem, is I buy so much, and then
because there's just so much good stuff.
And then just lose it. Can you use kale or fresh spinach with that dish? Absolutely. You can use anything that's green. You can use anything in reach. Most of the time greens are fairly interchangeable. You know, if you've got one type of green, but the recipe calls for another, just try it. It's probably fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you tend to have sort of softer greens and harder greens, but for the most part, it's going to be fine. It just might take a little bit of time.
What's so nice about this, and I tend not to cook greens, and when I do cook them, I tend to just barely saute them. But this is it's so silky and just, it's really.
And chard does that. Chard kind of takes on a.
And it makes me think that I tend to eat. I tend to turn anything into a salad, but braising
though just a little bit. I think that's. Somebody's asking about the name of the New York restaurant going vegan. That's 11 Madison Park is the name of the restaurant.
And I saw our old partner Trisha Lynn Watts.
Asking how's it like to cook in a real kitchen.
Not as much fun as it would be if you were with us, Trisha.
We're like freaked out. We're having that kind of scary moment. That there's a dishwasher over here. There's a dish room over here.
There's dishes.
Yeah, there are dishes for that matter. We're not finding the old crazy patterns stuff in the back of the Apple shop.
But we do miss our old partner Trisha Watts.
We do. This is never quite the same without her.
She was part of What's Cooking Now for a long time, and she was amazing, and we miss her. Can't wait to cook with her again.
That's true. That'll be fun. Somebody's asking if this is a regular thing, and maybe.
We might make it a regular thing.
Maybe we could make it a regular thing. That's not impossible.
We're going to find a way to do it.
We're going to find a way because this is fun.
Yeah, and we really do miss being on the airwaves at Apple Shop.
We do, running our mouths while we cook and eat.
And I just think that eating is such a personal and an intimate act, really. And sharing food with people that's my love language, right? So I don't really pray, I cook.
And it's one of those things that's been hard. I mean, that's been, talk about what's been hard in the pandemic.
That's been the hardest thing for me.
Is just not being able to eat with people, not being able to, not being able to just share a table with people. Much as Tamara and I are, I love her and all. But
and she loves you. I can tell.
And she, from the look on her face, I'm sure loves me. But I'm sure that she would kill to eat. She's pretty happy whenever we have a chance. She has a chance to eat with anybody else. I mean, literally anybody else.
And it's just been nice to go out. So I think let's kind of recap what we've done.
Recap.
I have to say that this cucumber thing that I made, I'm really liking the soy. The little sriracha
peas. Yeah, that is just kicking my butt.
Like I love peanuts on stuff, but I'm really liking.
But those
this.
are just fantastic, and that whole dish is just
blowing
my skirt apart.
I think is, and I feel this way when I go out to eat a lot of times. Like the meal will be great, whatever, but there'll be one thing that I kind of latch on to. Yeah. One thing that I kind of dial in on and want to figure out how to play with, and these pickles are just.
Yeah, pickled chard stems, definitely a thing.
And they're so pretty. They're so beautiful. They're absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. And I love this egg dish, I think it is a good thing for some of us to get away from as much meat as we eat. It's healthy for us, it's healthy for the planet, and it's just more inventive. It just requires a little more.
It just makes you make some different choices.
Makes you make some different choices. And like we said, we love being able to go out to our farmers markets and support local farmers. I think agriculture is one of the many things that's going to happen to... Can I just go off on Central Appalachia for a minute? I love this place. It hurts my feelings when people move away. I don't want to be the kind of place where we think we just have to create a space where our children can stay. We want to create a space where our children can stay or go, whatever they want, but where other people's children want to come and we want there to be lots of different kinds of people here doing lots of different things. And I really believe, here's my prediction, you heard it here first, invest now. I think that Central Appalachia is really going to see a renaissance. I think we're seeing a renaissance, and I think it's just going to continue to get more wonderful over the next 10 years or so. I think if we can figure out broadband, which I admit is a little bit of a problem, I think a lot of people during COVID have learned that they don't have to live in a big city. They don't have to. They don't have to go into an office. They can work from home. They can live in a place like this. You know, during COVID, people in Lexington had to like make an appointment to go hike. We just had to go out and go up, in the words of Carla Gover, our good friend Carla Gover. We just had to go out and go up. It's, you know, I could stand out on my porch and have 10 conversations with my neighbors. Of course, I run my mouth so much anyway that probably would be true no matter where I live. But living in a community like this really it has so many things to offer. And I think that the more that we can celebrate the food that comes from this community, and the more that we can use our ways of life, so the way that we eat, the way that we purchase food, the way that we think about food, the more that we can use that to support local farmers and to support local agriculture and to support local art and craft, like we see here at the Hyman Settlement School, like we see in downtown Hazard at the art station, like we see over at the Appalachian Artisan Center, like we see all over the place. So many things happening in Whitesburg. There's so much going on here, you know. It's really amazing, and I'm really feel really lucky to be even a small part of it.
It's an
and I
exciting
think
time.
that food, we said this before, food kind of crosses all the intersections of all those things. It crosses the intersections of health, and we know we don't have the best health outcomes at this point in our region, but food's the answer, right? Local food, eating more vegetarian meals, experimenting more. These things are all part of it. Going out on our trails that we have, all our new trails in the Perry County Park and in other parts of the 606. You know, I think food is at the nexus of all of it. It's what brings us together. It's what allows us to share things. And it's what allows us to become a place where not only we want to live and work and play, but where other people want to come and live and work and play as well.
Couldn't agree more.
Amen.
Amen.
So with that, I'm going to say that that we have been, I've been Jonathan Piercy, that's Jenny Williams, and we're at the Hyman Settlement School. This has been the Agrilachia series. Thank you so much for all the awesome things you've done with this series and for having us on here, not once but twice. You know, that's glutton for punishment right there. But we hope to do it again because this is always a blast, and we love working with these people. We love everything that they do. So until next time,
Remember, feed the ones you love and love the ones you feed.
good night.